Hello, my spooky children. It's been a little while, hasn't it? Oh, I've been a busy horror writer. Oh, yes, I have. I've been going on a book tour of sorts. Yes, for Cancer Eats the Heart, my vampire novel. I read it for you guys a little bit ago on the glorious day of its release. The first prologue. It's very terrifying. Where is it at here? Oh, see, here's all my books right here, and this one is that one. Cancer Eats the Heart. So, this book tour has been a lot of fun, I must admit. Oh, yes, it has been. So this last weekend, I was in Ohio, and I was at my childhood library, the Geneva Library. Yes, I grew up in Geneva, Ohio, a little small town. Most people confuse with the amusement park nearby known as Geneva on the Lake, but it's separate. Oh, yes, trust me, it's very separate. And this town I grew up in, I was there until I'd probably say my early 30s. I spent years in high school especially dreaming of fictionalizing the town and calling it Dark Rivers. And eventually I returned in both this book and in Daughter of the Homeward Star, which is right here. These both take place in Dark Rivers. This one, present day. This one, present day, revisiting it about 20 years ago. So, anyway, I was in this hometown of mine. I was at the local library. My childhood library is where I grew up reading terrifying stories and wonderful dark fantasies and all sorts of delicious things. I lived practically not even a block away. I would walk down there when I was really young and spend entire days just sitting there reading and getting to know the librarians and stuff. And it was my home away from home. And so when I found out that they were doing a fundraiser and rebuilding a part of the library, they wanted local authors to come. Well, I just had to drive the hour or so away from Erie, Pennsylvania, return to my hometown, and support my local library. It was wonderful. I was going to do a live stream event during that, but I ended up being way too busy, to be honest. I ended up selling too many books. It was a lot of fun. I actually enjoyed myself quite a bit. They had a large brass band playing nearby. So even though I wanted to film even a little bit, it would be hard to hear. But the music was beautiful and wonderful. They had two different food trucks that were there that were local to the area. One of them had both Hawaiian and Filipino food, and it was so delicious. The other one made a crooked taco. Very good. Oh, so wonderful. So it was a great day. I got to meet a lot of local fans, things like that. A few people that I hadn't seen in a long time, and a lot of new people that I've never met before. And it was really nice. I got to meet two new writers that I became really good friends with while I was there. And hopefully I'll be seeing them again at other local events in the area. I donated one of my copies of Cancer Eats the Heart to the local library because, it would mean so much for me to have it there at that library, at the place where I grew up reading various books like Stephen King. I was reading H.P. Lovecraft there. I was reading just all sorts of, that's where I first fell in love with Mackin, and as well as writers like, the list goes on and on, like Cordwainer Smith, just all sorts of the classics to the present day at that time period, which would be like the 80s and the 90s. Kurt Vonnegut, all that sorts of stuff. So it was wonderful. And like I said, if you ever get a chance to go out to Geneva, Ohio, stop by the local library. You will not be disappointed. It's probably one of the best places I've ever lived in my life. If I could live in that library forever. In fact, I wrote a short story, where is it, that appeared in a recent Underland publication. I think it was called Even Cozier Cosmic. Yes, there it is. Even Cozier Cosmic. So here, my short story was called Tim and Tam Go to the Library. Oh, it's so cozy. Doesn't it sound cozy? But it's not. It's cozy in an Eichmann kind of way, which means that it has the patina of coziness. but gets under the skin with ambiguity and frail cosmic horror. And the library that they go to is actually based off of the childhood version of the library I went to last weekend. It was, or actually, yeah, this past weekend. Sorry. It was wonderful just to be there and revisit all that stuff and remember it in my mind's eye exactly as I wrote it there. Very, very cool. It's kind of hard to shake our childhood experiences and our writing and our locations and everything else. It kind of builds up in our mind. And even if we write in fictitious places and fantastical worlds, somehow we tend to borrow hodgepodge from our own. And even if the readers don't do it, they bring their own historical versions of reality and they fill it in with their own details. And it kind of creates this nice amalgamation of a world between two minds and two histories and two lives. That said, all that, yes, my book tour is still not over because this Saturday, if you're in the Erie, Pennsylvania area, I'm going to be at Werner Books and I'll be signing copies of Cancer Eats the Heart. And they're also going to be serving a delicious bloodied black raspberry iced coffee based around the book. It's going to be so cool. I can't wait. I'm going to take pictures of it. I was originally planning on doing a live stream, but I have a feeling I might be a little too busy again this time to do a proper live stream. So I might do some recording here and there during the event and do like maybe a best of reel kind of thing, a highlights reel. I'm not sure yet. I might just do what I did after not Erie Horror Fest, when I was at the Lake Erie Book Company, and just do like an overview of like, oh, this is what I did. This was a lot of fun. Check it out. One of the things I'm asking people to do if they come to my not my final stop, my second to final stop in my book tour, is to dress as your favorite vampire. And look what I got. I got these at Spirit Halloween for half off. They're going to be retractable. No. They go. So I can do like a full on like Hammer horror, just, I love it. It's going to be great. So absolutely wonderful. It's going to be so much fun. After that one, I've got another one. It's going to be, I think, December 13th. I'm going to be returning to the Lake Erie Book Company. They're doing their 1-year anniversary celebration. And so I'll be there signing more books, hanging out with other authors, and it's going to be lots of fun. And I hope you can make it to either of my last 2 stops. And that will be it for my book tour of this year. And I'm hoping to do even more next year. It was a lot of fun. All in total, I had to think of total about 7 stops. Originally, I'd started off with just 3 that I'd planned ahead and called about and talked with. And then when I went to Geneva, I ended up getting like 3 more stops added to it. I had a few more just from the Erie Horror Fest, adding some more stops to it as well. So it kind of grew, and that's a lot of fun. Kind of like the blob, just expanding, and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that is going to be my events for the next few weeks, which means I'm probably not going to be doing a lot of YouTube stuff. But don't fret, my lovely little vampires of doom. Do not fret. I have a lot of ideas on topics and things I'm going to discuss here. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And trust me on that. One of the things I want to talk about is actually, I was thinking a lot lately, actually quite a bit. And this is something that's on my mind for quite a while. And it's basically how the big 5 publishing houses approach things like, going to auction for books, that sort of thing, having to like basically live up to like advances that are way outside of your means of selling, and then like having a career that slowly decays and falls apart because of it, or people not being able to actually build up an audience because the big 5 publishers are obsessed with debut authors for some reason. And I know everyone keeps telling me, oh, it's because they have no history. They've got no sales, good or bad. But because of that, they can't build an audience. Honestly, I think that might be, I think that might be a lie. I think it might be a handy fiction for what's actually going on, and which is that they want to keep people paying writers at the lowest possible way they can, so the advances don't keep growing with each book. That sort of thing. They also, I think, like to build up this idea of the big, overnight success, which they can do with like, oh, this debut is big, blah, 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 that sort of thing. Or they just like having a large catalog of lots of different authors. And these books in their catalog are just like widgets and things like that. They're things to show, oh, these are the kind of books we publish. It'd be nice if you bought them, but really we want you to go and buy the big blockbusters that we're actually putting money behind. And that's another thing too, is when we go back to like the auction, and let's say you get a giant advance, let's say like 6-figure advance, something like that. There's a serious risk with that of not earning it back. It happens a lot, and a lot of people, their careers end after that. And I hear one of the big things like, oh, you take the big advance because they're going to do the marketing push, but that's not always the case. And even if it was the case, sometimes marketing can't save a book that doesn't connect with people. But anyway, I'm going to go into this is the whole thing. I'm going to also talk about what's known as like the winner's paradox, where like, especially when it comes to auctions, things like that, it's a psychological thing where people end up paying more for something than what they want, and then they are actually losers because of how that works. And I think that's a big problem right now in the Big Five publishing industry. So that's also why a lot of people that become big authors and gain readerships and stuff do it outside of that, through either self-publishing or the small press. I myself am a big fan of the small press, as you can tell. Underland and both Underland and Third Estate Books, who Third Estate published Suicide Music, wonderful publishers. I love working with the small press. And I've worked with some Big Five in the past, but that's, again, another video for another day. Anyway, I just noticed that, like, because there's no more mid-list, because of this obsession with debuts, that kind of thing, and basically bang or bust publishing, go big or go home. It's basically, tentpole movies, but for the publishing world. But because of this, people aren't building readerships unless they do it outside of this. And I'm going to have a whole video about that. It's an interesting subject. I might be completely talking out of my ass about this. I don't know. I've been doing this for 25 years, but I've been doing it in my own little way on the outskirts of reality, in the underground, as they say, because, well, I write weird-ass shit. Weird-ass, strange-ass shit. And for some reason, that likes to flourish in the underground. Isn't that right? Oh, yes, it is. Okay. Anyway, that all said, it's probably going to be a little while before I have another video like that. But once I do, it'll be rolling. And yeah, once I get all these different stops out of the way and everything else like that, and this book tour is in the bed. One of the other things I'm going to talk about after that too is you may have seen me posting here, there, and everywhere about video games I'm working on. One of them is called Curse the Blood of Frankenstein. And that is it's going to be a story-based survival horror game modeled after mostly Hammer horror with some influences from Universal horror and a lot of influences from Mario Bava and Dario Argento. So if you've seen Suspiria, Black Sabbath, or Black Sunday, you'll know what I'm going for with this. They're kind of more gothic-oriented stuff, but the lighting in those, I wanted to get that for that game. It's a lot of fun. And I'm going to go over like how I'm making those. It's going to be kind of like a game dev log. I'm not going to be doing a ton of those. I'll do some of those because mostly this is going to be about dark fantasy and horror in publishing and not in game publishing. But I make games. They're fun, and I will talk about them too. The other game I'm working on is going to be called Raising Hell, and it's my Goth Gauntlet, basically. So if you remember the old 4-player Gauntlet game at the arcades, it's going to be the same basic thing, same multiplayer format, but instead of being like AD&D inspired, it's going to be a little more creepy vampire necromancer stuff, exploring an old haunted house that's like something out of Lovecraft filled with zombies. So yeah, kind of like a Fulci style haunted house, you know what I mean? Gates of Hell opening, bam, that kind of thing. So anyway, so I plan on doing that. I also plan on doing a video where I talk about how suicide and music and Daughter of the Woman Star are connected, because I mentioned that briefly on my Horror Trilogies video. And I want to go kind of into some more detail on that. I'm going to be doing some book reviews. I'm going to go over my collection of research books a little better, because I've talked to some people and they actually really like that and actually wished I would go into more detail with that. So I might do several more detailed ones where, because there's a lot of books in my research section, and a lot of really interesting books. So I'd like to just go through each of them and cover them. So I might do not a video for each book, but roughly something like that. Maybe like several books in the video and do several videos, that kind of thing. At least that's the plan anyway. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. I got lots and lots of plans. I actually used my little free write alpha here, a little gothed up, personalized, made crazy and cool because I swapped out the keycaps with Dracula's Castle keycaps by Acco, which is no longer being made, sadly, because they're wonderful, beautiful keycaps. And I wrote down and jotted down all of my story ideas. And, well, not just Acco's Dracula, but also I've got Dracula's Castle, but I also got this really cool one that's like a skull with a crown and a crow on top of it. And like, look at that. Isn't that pretty? So yeah, this inspires me to write something fierce. Yeah, I might also do one on writing music, or not writing music, sorry, but creating playlists and stuff that I write to, because I've always done that. And that's something that's very important to the way I write. I'm a visual writer, but also I write with a kind of poetic rhythm, and so I need music while I write because it gives me like a little drum and beat to go to while I'm writing, and I feel that's kind of necessary. I'm also going to do a few book reviews, that kind of thing, maybe a few movie reviews, that kind of thing. So stay tuned. I will be back in about 2 weeks, and it's going to be lots of fun. Trust me on that. And remember, stay spooky. Oh yeah.